What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American now living in Freetown, Sierra Leone. And if you want to know how an African business can get to 100,000 followers on Instagram and also start to generate customers using social media, then this is the video for you. Welcome to the live. Again, my name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I am a Sierra Leonean American, as I mentioned, living here in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I lived in Ghana for 2 years, and then I moved to Sierra Leone. So I need to know if you guys can hear me. First things first, can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me. We are live on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, 2 Facebook channels, 2 YouTube channels. So we're everywhere. We're everywhere right now. But let me know that you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me. All right. So Super 1042 said you can hear me. Nice. So that's on Instagram. Can you guys hear me everywhere else? I need to know from you guys on YouTube and on TikTok. Can you guys hear me? And in the meantime, also, if you guys can hear me, let me know where you guys are watching from. What part of the world are you watching from? So give me the city, state, or city and country, so I know where you're watching from. Everybody on IG says they can hear me. I still am waiting to hear back from TikTok and YouTube. Today we're going to talk about how you can get to 100,000 followers on Instagram and how you can use social media to get customers. Today is going to be a very interesting discussion because we are going to be going through the details of how I'm helping people do that as we speak. So we got a couple people in DC, USA. Somebody said USA. Where in the US though? Where in the US? I got VA from Super. I see Wise Prince Sincere says Washington, D.C. Unfrankie is from Paris, France. I was in Nice, France last year, and I went to Saint-Tropez last year. Fun fact. Yeah, that was my first time. We got ATL in the house. Ram Kali. Fel Jordan is calling in, watching in from the Netherlands. Wow, Rotterdam, Netherlands. This guy from Pakistan. We got Auckland, New Zealand, California, Riverside, California. Nice. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Wow, nice. I actually went to boarding school in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we used to actually have to drive to the King of Prussia Mall to get our hours of driving. So familiar with the Philadelphia area, South Philly, North Philly. I've been to all those areas in Philly. The interesting thing about Philly is they like to park in the middle of the street. That was new. All right, cool. So where else is everybody watching from? Let me see what cities, states, what countries you're in. Okay, we got Lars Malik from Hamburg, Germany. Another fun fact, for 2 years, I was going to Germany once every like 6 months or so. So I went to Germany, Hamburg, Germany 3 times. Okay, we got Mara on TikTok. Mara, where are you watching from? And then on YouTube. Okay, so Anne-Marie Harding says, I can hear you. You're here from London. Nice. Mr. London Boy for Life says, hey, Joe, long time no see. How you doing? I'm doing great. Doing great. Thanks for joining. All right, let me know if you guys, where you guys are from. I want to hear from you guys while we get everybody on. All right, so we heard Auckland, New Zealand. We had London. We had Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We had Pakistan. We had Riverside, California. I don't speak any French. I know that's what you're asking, Lars. I mean, German. I can just say sprechen Sie English, but I don't speak Deutsch. Musa is from ATL. Sir Abdul is from Abuja, Nigeria. That's a destination that I'm on my way to at some point in time in the next 12 months. Mr. London Boy for Life is watching from, is it Croydon, London? I don't even know the name of the city, but nice. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So we're going to get started here. Those of you who are new to the platform and are not as familiar with me, again, my name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American. I now live in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I have been here for a little over 10 weeks. Shout out to I Am Troy from Oakland, California. Musa said you met me in Sierra Leone. Shout out to you. Sorry, Mark is from Uganda, Loma Linda, California. This is Olmar's something something. Um, nice. Traverse is in the building too. I'm going to Kenya with Traverse Culture later this year, as you guys know. So I'm looking forward to that trip for sure. So we got a full room here. So we got a bunch of people from a bunch of different places. Cool. So let's get into the content today. So today we're going to talk about how I can help you as a brand find your customers on social media. Not only find your customers, but build your brand and grow it. So why am I qualified to talk about this? We're going to talk about that in a second. But this is something that I've done previously. I had a social media agency back in 2017, 2018. And I was working with clients in the States. And what I realized is I wasn't that passionate about the products and what they did. And so I parted ways with all of those clients and moved on to something completely different. And so now it's time, now that I'm on the continent, to be able to help African brands or diaspora brands looking to reach African audiences in Africa or around the world. And my goal is to help you guys find your audiences. So with that, I'm going to jump right into the presentation. So let's get into it. So I'm presuming that you guys can hear me on TikTok. Nobody has said anything on TikTok yet. I like class participation, but the class participation on TikTok is missing. It's definitely missing. But anyway, we'll assume that you guys can hear me. All right, cool. So, and as I always say, if you want to watch this on live on YouTube and you want to see what I'm presenting on the screen, go to the link in my profile. If you're watching on TikTok or on Instagram, go to the link in the profile. In that link, you'll get a link tree. In that link tree, click on go live on Instagram. Sorry, go watch me live on YouTube or join me live on YouTube. And then just go to the most recent video there. You'll see the video. All right. So let's get started. It's not a long presentation today because I have some other things that I'm going to need to do afterwards. But I did want to give you guys the opportunity to see what it is that I'm making available to companies if you so choose. I have verbal commits in the last week from 4 different companies. One's an NGO, 3 are for-profit businesses, all based here in Sierra Leone. And so the goal is to kind of continue doing this. And I'll share their brands and all of that once the ink is dry and we've actually gotten a start date when we're going to start the engagement. But I want you guys to know that the business is off the ground and running. I'm no longer talking about businesses that are coming down the line. I'm only talking about businesses that are off the ground and running, where I have clients and that I can be in control of the entire process. And so when it comes to the social media agency, I run it, I control it, and it's all based on me. All right, cool. So let's get going. So first thing first is we'll start with the up. Well, just check out the channel because I'm posting something every day right now. I'm in the middle of posting things about the Kenya trip. The site was down for a little bit, but just keep coming back if you want to sign up for it, or email me or email the folks at Traverse and just let them know that you're trying to sign up for the Kenya trip through me, and they'll get you situated. But probably by the time you watch this replay, the site will be back up. But just know that if you're going right as we're going live right now and it doesn't come up, don't worry. Just email me or message the folks at Traverse, and they'll be able to get you set up. All right, and we'll talk about that in a little bit in a second. So in terms of upload date and times, just stay tuned to the channel. You will continue to see what's happening. I'm getting messages, so I just want to double check to make sure everything is good. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this with anybody you know who's an African business, who's looking to build a brand online using social media. That's what I do. That's what I have been doing. And that's what I'm willing to help companies do. This is something I'm really passionate about. I want to see our businesses on the continent grow. And one way to do that is to get in front of your customers on social media, right? Okay, so some of the services that I'm providing, as I mentioned before, I'm doing consulting services. And so any of you guys who are interested in moving to Ghana or visiting Ghana, I can help with airport concierge services, local needs, and local recommendations. If you're planning to move to Ghana, I can help with residency services, business feasibility, business registration. And I can also help with renting, buying land or ready-made houses, or building a house. That is all stuff that I can at least get you pointed in the right direction and get you started and let you know what's necessary. With Sierra Leone, similar services, right? Visiting Sierra Leone, I got a ton of different things we can help you with there. Moving to Sierra Leone, I can help you with getting a passport, getting a driver's license. I recently got my driver's license here in Sierra Leone. Unfortunately, I had to take pictures of the paperwork because the cards are not ready yet. Shout out to Salon. But I do have the ability now to drive in Sierra Leone. I have the documentation necessary that will allow me to be able to drive here in this country. And it was a process that took me 3 days. And so I can help you guys do that in the same time frame if you're interested. And also buying land in Sierra Leone, I'm helping people who want to do that as well. I can at least walk you through the process. So those are some of the things we've talked about in the previous weeks. There are also new things now I'm consulting people on. So social media consulting services. Now, this particular live is about brands that want to bring me on board as a company, as an agency, to help them build their social media. But separately from that, you as an individual, whoever you might be watching this from, wherever you're watching this from, if you want to learn how to build a social media platform, whether that's Instagram, I got 114K on Instagram now, 19 point something on TikTok, a little over 9K on YouTube. This number is pretty old, and a little over 8K on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it now. And this is all recent, right? Twitter, I've been on for a while, but I've been very passive on Twitter and still grew it to 8K. TikTok, I started it in June of 2022. So within 16 months, I've gotten it to 19.6K. And also with YouTube, that's a little over 2.5 years. We got to 9K. It usually takes people about 4 to 5 years to get to 10K. And then with Instagram, I've been on since 2019, and I grow that to 114K. But we'll talk about the trajectory of the growth that's happened over the last 7 months because of the new strategies and things that I've implemented as of recent. So also, I can help people with LinkedIn. I have other Instagram profiles, and I can also help people build their Facebook as well. So if you're interested in working with me on you as an individual, helping you build your social media platform, you can just go to the link in my description, whether it's the description of this video here or the link in my profile if you're on TikTok or if you're on Instagram. Just click on the link there. Click on book private one-on-one 1 hour long consultation about Africa. That also will be a consultation that we can schedule to talk about social media. Whatever platforms you want to build, I can give you insight into how that looks, how often to post, what kinds of things to post, how to find your target audience, all of those kinds of things. Now, in terms of testimonials I wanted to share 2 testimonials from calls I've had in the last 2 weeks on the moving or visiting Sierra Leone side. So on the left, we have the one and only Anita Howard, who said, I really enjoyed my consultation with Joe. He's very personable and detail-oriented and answered all of my questions. I have a much clearer picture of what is needed to successfully relocate to Sierra Leone. Thanks again, Joe. Anita Howard, not to be confused with Adina Howard. And that's an inside joke. If you've been on the lives, you know. If you know, you know. And then on the right, we have Aisha Ladan, who also has a YouTube channel, so you can check her out. She and I had a consultation session a few weeks back, and she just shouted me out and on her page and said, you know, check out my consultation services. So we have some positive feedback from folks who've done it. And so if you're interested, you now know where to go to find it. All right, let me just make sure there are no other questions before we move on. Let me get to, okay, Pro Woman J says, Joe making moves, watch out now. Yeah, you know, I always have to be on it. You know, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And even when I'm working for a company, I'm an intrapreneur, always building businesses. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the travel that I'll be doing this year. So the most immediate travel that I'll be doing is to Tanzania from the 7th through the 16th of October. If you want to find out more about that, let me explain who I'm going with. I'm going with Maximum Impact, Jay Cameron and his group of folks. And so if you want to come along with me, the link is in the description below, and the link will be in my profile to figure out how to come along with me for this trip. And it all is here. But if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, anywhere, it's going to be in the description. If you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, it'll be in the profile, my profile link. And so you can see it here. Just click on the East African Adventure to Tanzania, and it'll take you to the details of that trip. And then, of course, I'm going to Kenya in December with Traverse Culture, and that's December 28th through the January the 8th for the call to action. And that's with Kia Wakesho Simmons and her whole team. And I'm really excited about this trip as well. So those are the two trips I'm taking. If you want to come along with me, you can find that link in my profile and in the description as well. It will say, join me in Kenya for New Year's. Just click on that. That gives you the details. If the link is not live right now, just email me or DM me, and we'll get you to the right people that can help you book that trip. So that's a little bit about the travel that I'm going to be doing. We're going to get into the content now. I just wanted to do some housekeeping and get you guys up to speed. Let me make sure there are no questions or, comments. Let's see what we got. A bunch of people jumping on. Okay, so Destiny Ethiopia Tours says, come to Ethiopia. It is on my list of countries that I do want to visit. I made some friends, some Ethiopian friends back in 2010. They had migrated to Israel, but they had very interesting stories, and they always talked glowingly about Ethiopia and Ethiopian food, and I tasted some Ethiopian food with them. So definitely down to go to Ethiopia. Since you do tours, definitely hit me up, DM me on, I think that's Instagram. Yeah, DM me on Instagram or email me. It's authenticafricanlife@gmail.com, and we can talk about the tours that you do and maybe potentially me going to Ethiopia as well. Always open to the idea. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how I can help brands get to 100,000 followers on Instagram, and more importantly, just how to use social media to get more customers. I myself have a few case studies that I was not able to pull together entirely, but throughout the years, I've run a number of different pages. In my lifetime, this might sound crazy to you all, but in my lifetime, or in not my lifetime, but in Instagram's lifetime, since 2012, I have had 9 different profiles on Instagram. And these aren't my own personal profiles. I've only had 2 personal profiles. I've changed one over but I currently have 3 active profiles currently. And then when I say 3 active profiles, I mean like they get posts semi-regularly. The main profile, of course, is Authentic African. I have Hatagwa Enterprises, and then I, of course, have Jay Hatagwa, my personal page. And over time, I've had niche pages in the cannabis niche. I've had niche pages in the solar niche. And so I've gone through this process of building pages around e-commerce stores that I was running to generate value to potential customers, to drive them to the e-commerce stores. And that's going to be an important part of what we're talking about today, right? You as a business, as a brand, you're looking for customers, and your customers are on social media. Everybody mindlessly scrolls through social media. There are billions of active users across all the different platforms. The one that is used the least currently is Instagram Threads, because it's just brand new. Twitter was used the least prior to that, with a little over 200,000 200,000 users. Was it 200 million users? Sorry, 200 million users. And then all the other platforms have like close to 1 billion or over 1 billion, right? And so, all of these platforms have your customers on them, but how do you get in front of them? What kind of content do you need to create to get there? So let's just talk a little bit about why I am qualified to do this and why I have decided to do this. So you guys might remember at the beginning of the year, anybody who's been following for a while, you might remember that I was really excited to hit this milestone number of 50,000 followers. All of last year, I was stuck at 30K. Then we had a boost to 35K. And then we boosted to the end of the year, got up to, when I say boosted, I mean just, I'm using that phrasing term incorrectly. We just grew to 50K. And there was some things that I implemented to ensure that we grew to that size. I started working on, posts that were native posts, things that had to do with what I understand people were engaging with, right? And I understood the audience more. I took a deeper dive into the audience, was looking at the comment section a little bit more to understand what people were interested in and what people believe in and what they agree with, what they disagree with, and all those kinds of things. And that helped me to put together a strategy around building. However, I was in a full-time job, and it was very difficult for me to continue to stay on top of it as much as I wanted to do like breaking news stories and things like that. In January of this year, I became a full-time employee of myself. And as of January this year, I've been focusing full-time on my social media platforms, and more specifically, Instagram really is where I spent most of my time. And with Instagram, I grew it from 50,000 followers. And you can see it here. It says it here in the upper left-hand corner. You can see that I posted this on January 7th on my story on Instagram. I was really excited to have hit 50K. And it was 50K on January 7th. Now you can see on the right, on August 6th, the number is 113K. And I do want to be very clear that as of this morning, and if you're watching this later, this morning is August 8th or 9th? I don't even know what the date is. I now have 114,000 subscribers. So there's another, followers. So there's another 1,000 followers that have come in the last 3 days since I posted this post or posted this story. And so I'm averaging a couple thousand followers a week with the new strategies that I've implemented and focus that I put completely on this platform. And so this is what I'm here to help brands do, because now I know how to do it. And I'm confident I can do it because you can see the results right here on the screen. And if you guys are watching on Instagram or TikTok, as I mentioned, you're going to have to join the YouTube live to be able to see the images. But if you're following on Instagram or TikTok, you know how many followers I have on TikTok and you know how many followers I have on Instagram. You can see those numbers. But yeah, that is, there are some strategies that I've implemented to ensure that it grew to that size. And so we talked a little bit about what the company is, but just from a high level, the goal is to bridge the gap between the diaspora and Africans and on the continent, right? I think there are a lot of conversations happening disparately and still looking at each other as different groups. And in my opinion, I think we are all one large group because those who created the languages that we speak and the democracies that we live under and the laws that we abide by, they gave us this grouping and this name, and so by doing so, they either marginalized us or said we're this. And so now I think it's on us to work together as this group and liberate ourselves. I won't get too deep into that, but the goal is share information between the two sides, right? One thing I haven't done for this group is talked about my previous work experience, brands that I've worked with, and how I've helped brands find their audiences online in my professional career before or outside of all the social media stuff that I do, right? Like, so I've had a 17-year career in advertising, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. But let's just start at the top. These are some of the brands that through the last maybe 6 or 7 years, I have engaged with and helped them run campaigns to reach their audiences online. So in the upper left-hand corner, you see some of the American partnerships, everyone from Capital One to Target. I've worked with all those brands in some way, shape, or form, whether I pitched and closed the brand, or I was involved in the pitch and closing the brand, or I was involved in growing the brand spend on a platform. In any of those three circumstances, I was involved in growing their spend and helping them reach their audiences. So, there's a bunch of companies here that you could see, but I was involved in that in some way, shape, or form. In the middle, you have the global partnerships. So these are companies that I've worked with that have global campaigns. And I've either worked with them on the continent of Africa or worked with them in the United States, but for global campaigns. And you see everyone from MasterCard to L'Oreal here. And then on the far right, these are companies I've worked with in a number of different ways. Under the education, I'm an affiliate with those folks. I've interviewed them at Destination Africa. Under travel, these are companies that have all, I'm going on trips with them to different places. And you can see other companies that are specific to the continent of Africa that I have worked with, and I have run campaigns, successful campaigns online for them. And the bottom left-hand corner, you see the advisory work that I've done. I've worked with MEST, Google for Startups, the accelerator that they have, and Founders Institute. I've also worked with, I also have a nonprofit that I launched, bottom left-hand corner, that says Launchpad Africa. We are big on investment readiness and helping startups in Sierra Leone and beyond Sierra Leone get to a place where they not only can scale, but also can take investment dollars, and not only take the investment dollars, but deploy that capital properly to continue to grow. And in the middle, digital expertise. There's a list of different things that I can do, or that I have done, or that I'm currently doing. And then on the far right, these are companies that I have either directly been employed by, or I've done contract work with. And so you have Africa at the top right there, so Jumia and ALX, and then at the bottom you have the rest of world. So this is a little bit about my background and what I've done in the past. Now, before I move on, there are some more questions and comments, so I want to get to those questions really quickly. So Michael Smolders is asking, hey brother, do you have anyone you recommend to help me see Sierra Leone and possibly invest? I do. I can actually help you with that. As a matter of fact, that is one of the things that I help people do. So shoot me an email to authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. I'm going to put a banner up on the screen right now with my email. So you could just, it says, the email says it right here, authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. So just email me there and we can talk about how I can help you do that. The other question Michael Smolders has, I'll be there in November for tourism, but I'm an entrepreneur and always looking for possibilities. Let's definitely talk. We can definitely talk about that. Okay, cool. So that's a little bit about me and my professional background. So you guys got a chance to see that. Now let's talk a little bit more about where I fit in, right? So if you have a product or service that is targeting African or diasporans, whether it's a service brand, your bank, telecom, or if you're an insurance company, if you're a consumer brand, your FMCG, consumer goods or food company, NGO, nonprofits, travel businesses, real estate, investors, I have the audience for you, right? Global expat, repat audiences, international buyers who are looking to buy food, beverages, etc., hair products, whatever, FMCG related goods, frequent travelers, real estate renters and buyers, and of course, African entrepreneurs. I can connect you with those. So the question that was just asked by Michael Smolder, that is part of what I do, is help investors find companies to invest in. All right, so I do run campaigns. Here's how I run campaigns, and I help people market their brands online. So I not only can just manage your social media for you, but I can actually run an advertising campaign for you. And I do it all in all of my posts, whether it's a marketing campaign where you're spending money, or it's actually just kind of an awareness campaign where you're doing posts. I still want to do the full funnel. I want to make sure that people get awareness, consideration because of ad frequency or the frequency of the post. They make a purchase, right? And then eventually they become a loyal customer and continue to purchase from you. That is the goal of everything I do with every customer I work with or client I work with, to help them find their customers online. So, the customer is trying to make a decision. Authentic African is there to help them make that decision. This is specific examples of the kinds of posts and the kinds of things that you can do at each stage in the funnel. I'm not going to go through each of the things here, but these are the things that we can do. So everything from a picture post all the way down to a social media marketing campaign. That is how we reach all areas of the funnel. So if you run a paid campaign, I help you find your customers. First, I know your brand. Obviously, we got to have the customer persona to understand who they are. We send them to your pages, right? We give them engaging content with a call to action. Ideally, you make some product sales. And then lastly, up to you to make them be repeat customers. But that is what I do. Find your customer on social media and help them become repeat customers. So what is a formula that you should follow for every single post that you're posting? So this formula is called the VRIN formula, or some people call it the VRIN formula. I always tell clients about this, and I always mention this to folks because there's so many people who are unaware of this, and it's kind of a basic thing, but it's something that people don't really know. So every post that you're posting on social media, every single post, you want to scale it on a scale of 1 to 10. And your average score should be about an 8 or 7 minimum, right? And so how do you do that? You just basically say, does it meet all of these requirements, right? If it meets all of these requirements, give it like 2 or 2.5, basically, or 2.25, I guess. If it fully meets value, what does your target market value most about your brand? Does it speak to that, right? So that's value. If it speaks to that, okay, 2.5, great. Is it rare? How many other people in the world have posted the thing that you're posting? Or are you the quickest after posting it that someone else posted? Because there may be someone else who's bigger than you who's already posted it, but if you post it right away, you might also still get the rare example because they're following you and they might see it through you before they see it through the other person. Is it, I always mispronounce this, inimitable? Is there something unique that is hard for competitors to replicate? Right? So is it something that only you can do, right? Like only you can do. So when we say inimitable, right, what we mean is this, because this conversation comes up a lot and people always ask me this. So like even if a competitor wanted to post this, they couldn't, right? So like we've been in business for X number of years. We've helped X number of clients. We've had this hard competitor to beat and we basically beat them. Something that no one else can actually replicate that you've done because it's specific to you. And then let me go back to rare again, just to give you an example of rare. Most of the posts that you have should leave a feeling of wow, right? I've never seen that before. Something that is extremely rare is something like a before and after. If you're in that world of healthcare, you know, the higher the VRN score, the higher the rarity. The more likely it is that people are going to engage. And then non-substitutable. Are you conveying to your customers why they should use your product and how they should not live without it? So, you know, studies show that this X, Y, and Z, and we follow all of these things, right? These are all the things that you should be thinking about as a business when you're posting. So this is a simple formula. Not too many people know about it, but you should be using this formula every time you post, right? And sometimes you're going to post some things that, you know, it doesn't hit a 2.5 on every single number here, but it's important for you to get it out, like Happy New Month. A lot of people like to do a Happy New Month, especially here on the continent, because that's a thing here in Africa. People put it on their status. People as businesses put it on WhatsApp or on social media. Fine, if you want to do that. Happy New Month doesn't have any of these, right? Because so many people are typing Happy New Month. But if you feel necessary, you can do that, right? So sometimes you can post things that are not going to be considered a part of this idea of the rare or that valuable, but it's just kind of a part of the way that people communicate here, at least in West Africa, from what I've seen. So these are all things that you should think about when you're posting. Now, I'm going to talk about what I help people do on each of the major social media platforms by showing you what I've done and the numbers that I have. So, and you know what, before I do that, let me just make sure there aren't any other questions. Is there any questions so far? Okay, so no questions. Cool. Okay, so let's start with Instagram, right? So we're gonna help you target African and diasporans on a well-curated profile with high quality and unique visuals that garner more engagement and brand awareness. So there's a couple things I focus on: quality content, a content strategy, engagement, right? Community engagement, consistent posting schedule. This is the number one thing I see businesses do wrong, is they post whenever they feel like posting. Like they wake up and are like, you know what, today I'm gonna post. And then they post. No same day, no same time, no set schedule, just post. Maybe I'll do a story to go along with it, maybe not. I have a set day and time that I post every single day. Now, there are some times where I throw in additional posts, which get additional boost, but no matter what, there is a same day, same time, or same time every single day. I post 7 days a week between 4 and 7 to 10 times a day on Instagram. That's not for everybody. I recommend you at least do 3, but that's what I do. So if you want to know how I went from 50,000 earlier this year to 114,000 right now, is because I do that. That plain and simple. And I study the audience. I see what you guys like, and I post based on what is informative to you all, educative, informative, or entertaining, but also something that I think is important for you to know. And so that is why the channel has grown. And one of the other things that I want to mention here is on the screen, you see that it says 17 million accounts reached in the last 30 days. I don't know if you guys remember, in March, my record was 4.9 million accounts reached in the last 30 days. As of August, I'm reaching 17 million accounts in a 30-day span. And that was as of August 6th. I want to tell you guys that as of this morning, I'm reaching 19 million accounts. I currently have 2 posts going viral as we speak. And I'm not going to tell you how I got these posts to go viral or what I did to get these posts to go viral. If you are interested in that, you will sign up for some consulting, or as a brand, you can work with me as an agency, and I can help you figure out how to find something that might potentially go viral in your space. I will give you a hint. One of the things that's hardest to do is to go viral without being controversial and without being salacious. However, if you're consistent and you implement a strategy that I have, you are more likely to go viral. And that's a strategy that I save for people who are actually clients of mine. But you'd be surprised. It's a really simple one. You might even think of it right now in your own head, but you're not implementing it, which is probably why your posts have not been going viral. But it's a really interesting one, and it took me a while to get there. You know, I've been working on this diligently for 4 years on this particular page since 2019, and I've just now started to figure out a strategy to kind of really build. And by the way, I'm not salacious. You know, there was that fight at that boat or whatever in the States. I decided not to post that because everybody else was posting it, and I don't want to post fights necessarily. That's not my thing. But of course, it's technically a newsworthy story, and everybody's posting it, and people have opinions on it. But I myself felt like I didn't want to post that because I didn't want to become like World Star. No offense, because trust me, I gave World Star a ton of traffic. We used to put ads on World Star back in the day. But you know, you remember when people would see a fight and they would just yell out World Star, right? I don't want to be that, right? I don't want people thinking that's what I do. So, you know, it's also about keeping your integrity and deciding what you want to post and what you want to focus on. And so that is something that I help brands with as well. So minimum of 3 times a day. Collaborations with influencers is something else I also recommend. TikTok, you know, consistent posting, engaging with unique content, trend participation, especially if you're a brand that has an individual at the helm of the brand who likes to dance and stuff like that. That's going to be helpful for TikTok. But you can also grow on TikTok without doing dances and even without following trends. Some posts just sometimes go viral when you stay consistent. I have 19,300 followers on TikTok, only being live since last year. And all I'm doing on TikTok is posting videos that I find interesting and clips of my other videos. There is nothing that I'm doing on on TikTok right now that is native to TikTok. And I still have almost 19,500 followers in a little less than a year and a half. So there's something that you can implement and I can implement with you. And then of course you could take it to the next level if you decide to kind of stick to the trends and do all of that other stuff too. Can definitely work. Collaborations and duets also work on TikTok. So Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, consistent quality content, using hashtags wisely, engaging with your audience, of course, retweeting and sharing posts that are popular, and then networking and collaborating with other folks. You know, Twitter is a platform that is more about quality over quantity. And what I mean by quality is people who are who are thought leaders offline. That's like news hosts, you know, people who write articles, news people, athletes and stuff. They have pretty significant following on Twitter. And so it's definitely a place that you want to be if you want to get in front of folks who are or or who do actually have some influence, and then maybe get them to engage with your content. That's definitely something you can do. That's something I can help you do with running a Twitter account for you. Facebook, same thing, high quality content, consistent posting, Facebook groups, paid advertising is something I definitely recommend, and engaging and responding with folks. LinkedIn, this is huge for business to business. If you are a business where your end customer is another business, LinkedIn is important. For example, I go live on LinkedIn when I'm talking about topics like this, right? Where my target is an audience that are businesses, right? So that's why I'm live on LinkedIn right now. I don't go live on LinkedIn if I'm talking about dating or something like that. But if I'm talking about something that I could potentially get new clients from, that is when I go live on LinkedIn. And so that's how you should think about LinkedIn. The thing about LinkedIn is you can really post once per day, 1 to 2 times per day. You can stay pretty active on there if you want. But LinkedIn is really good at ensuring that everybody who is a follower of yours or a connection of yours sees all of the ways you've engaged on LinkedIn. So if you've reposted a post, if you've liked a post, it shows up in their main feed. Why is that important? It makes sure that you get more reach on a platform that's smaller than Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook, or sorry, the Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, right? But you still get the opportunity to reach decision makers and folks who could be potential investors if you're a business that's looking for investors, or if you are a business that is looking for people to collaborate with, right? That is a way that you can become a thought leader. So I have 6,502 followers on LinkedIn, not to be confused with connections on LinkedIn. My connections on LinkedIn is about 6,300. So I have 200 more followers on LinkedIn than I do as connections that I've actually requested a connection, or they've requested a connection with me. And so there are people who follow me that I haven't even connected with yet. And so that is the power of LinkedIn, is that now you have the ability to have people follow you and you can be a thought leader. So definitely recommend being on LinkedIn. Newsletter, I can help you with the newsletter. Engaging content, make sure that people open your newsletter and click to go to your site. We do A/B testing, segment your audience, optimize subject lines, compelling content, continuously testing different elements to optimize for mobile, all of those things, to ensure that you are maximizing your presence on the social platforms. And then lastly, blogs. I can and will help folks build out a blog. I actually should have mentioned on the newsletter, it's a 15-part series and ongoing at least 3 times weekly sales emails. With the blog, of course, 1 per day or 3 to 4 times per week, I can help you with a system to set up blogging so you ensure that you have a blog. High quality content, search engine optimization, promotion and distribution of that blog, engaging visuals, and call to actions, because you want people who go to the blog to actually come and to your business and support your business, right? So these are all things that I can help you do through my social media agency. So let's talk about what the pricing looks like, or let's talk about what the different plans look like and what's available to everyone. So for all service plans, no matter what the service plan, there's a number of different service plans. So you have the basic, you have the standard, professional, enterprise, and enterprise plus. Now, you get a dedicated account manager, you get a monthly business review, you get a social media audit, you get a social media calendar 30 days in advance, weekly reporting on your growth week over week, a monthly strategy session to go along with the monthly business review, and then of course the monthly, I said monthly content calendar already, so apologies for that. I think the last thing was actually supposed to be, what do you call it? A reputation audit. So let's go to the next slide and talk about each of the different plans and what you get separately from that. So the basic plan, you get an online reputation audit, brand story creation, help you build your story, help you understand your customer persona, and you get 1 post per platform on 3 platforms. So 1 post per day across 3 platforms. You move on to the standard one. You can either do 2 posts per platform across 3 platforms, or 3 posts per platform, or It's going to be a combination of both, depending on what platforms you're using and what how much content you're able to give me and we're able to produce together. On the professional level, that's three posts per platform across 5 platforms. Enterprise is 3 posts across 6 platforms, and a 15-part intro newsletter with a weekly email blast. And then lastly, the Enterprise Plus also gets a blog and Medium posts. So that is what we do with the agency. Pretty simple. Any questions? Let me go ahead and close out of this. So that's what I help people do. Now, if you have any questions about the social media agency or about the consulting services, more than happy to answer it. Or if you want to ask me questions about my move to Sierra Leone or living on the continent, more than happy to answer those questions now. This is an open forum to answer questions if you have any. Let me see if there's any questions on TikTok. There's a bunch of people who've joined. Let's see, what do we got on Instagram? There's some comments on Instagram that I wanted to get to. Let's see. Really Kidding is happy with the content I was sharing. Nice. We got a bunch of folks on here that joined throughout the discussion. Let's see. Anything here that I can pull out in terms of a question? So San Jose Realtors JS says, what's the cost? It's a great question. So I'm not willing to say the cost here right now because this video is going to live in perpetuity. And the last thing I want someone to do is say, I saw your video and on your video, you said the cost was this. And so I mentioned this on a previous live, and there's a viral audio of Fat Joe, the rapper from the Bronx, that says, yesterday's price is not today's price. And so as of right now, the costs are fixed where they are today. But as the agency grows, as I get more clients, those costs will change. So if you are interested in the service, what you can do is click on the link in my profile for the consultation, and we can do it that way. Or you can email me at authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. And I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you about the cost and what your needs are. But I won't do it here because, like I said, this video is going to live in perpetuity. And 5 years from now, the price is definitely going to be different. The price is more than likely to be different 6 months from now. So I will say the price is fluid and will fluctuate as time goes on. As of right now, it's fixed. And when we talk, I will let you know. So the two of you who just asked about price, email me at authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. If you email me there, I'm more than happy to talk you through the pricing structure for each of these products that I mentioned before. All right, cool. Let's see. Are there any other questions, comments, or thoughts? Let's take a look. Yeah, so those were the 2 questions. What was the cost? Guys, if there are no questions, we can actually begin to wrap this up. This is one of those lives where I have to jump off to do something else afterwards. I got some interesting announcements that I'm going to be announcing in the coming weeks. Very shortly in the coming weeks, you'll be able to see me featured on another channel. We're not going to mention what that channel is yet because we haven't gone through the agreement signing process. We haven't actually fully gone through the commercial terms as of yet, but just be on the lookout for that. You guys are going to see me in a lot more places than where you've been seeing me now. Right now, you see me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, on my own platform. You'll likely be seeing me in the coming weeks on other platforms, and that is to be determined. I'm really excited about sharing that with you all because there's some interesting stuff coming. And you guys probably are a follower of some of the other platforms that we're going to be talking about here because they're bigger. They're over 1 million subscribers. And so just know I'll be a contributor on those platforms. Okay, cool. So let me see. Are there questions? Okay. Pro Woman J says, that's a good question. Pro Woman J is asking, can you speak to the difference in values in African advertising? Example, time, quickness, etc. Isn't promoted. Sorry, I'm getting calls while I'm live. Let me just make a note to let them know that I'm live right now and that I cannot talk. Cool. Okay, cool. So, sorry guys, if you're watching on Instagram and you keep getting interrupted, it's because in Sierra Leone, people don't call once, they call 3 or 4 times in a row. They don't, it's just it's natural here. In Ghana, it's the same way too. And it actually happened in Nigeria as well. So it may be just like a West African thing. I don't know if it's all Africa thing, but people just keep calling. They keep calling. And just keep calling. Like in the States, right? You call someone and they don't answer. You're like, oh, okay, they must be busy. I'll call them back later or they'll call me back. Not here. The belief system is that you can't be that busy. Answer my call. Anyway, on to Pro Woman J's question. So the difference in African advertising. So I'll say this. I have personally dealt with advertisers and brands in 2 countries as like one-on-one pitching. Like I myself am doing the pitching in Ghana and in Sierra Leone. I've been involved in pitches with companies that are pitching like across the continent. So European companies or African companies that are working across the continent. And I will tell you, the biggest difference I have seen is just the where they are in terms of their understanding of a lot of the technology that's available for advertising, right? So when you think about there's so many different types of advertising. There's programmatic advertising, like on digital. There are other tools and formats, that you can utilize on social media, right? And what I would say is what I've seen with companies on the continent, they are a little bit further behind than sorry, I'm getting crazy messages on my WhatsApp right now. Sorry guys, Salon, man, salon people. I'll tell you what, I don't know what is going on. I'm in the middle of a live right now and getting crazy messages. So you know who you are and you're watching the live. Please let me be live, please. I'm in the middle of a live. You're distracting me. So to answer your question, Pro Woman J, and I'm sorry I've extended the question so long to answer this question, but that is some of the things that I found to be challenges, right? Some of the things that I found to be challenges is the most people that I've met, at least in West Africa, tend to go through the traditional routes for social media, for marketing, right? So they tend to want to do TV advertising, they want to do radio advertising, and billboards are huge. Specifically, actually in Egypt, billboards were a big deal as well. But billboards are big in Ghana, billboards are big here in Sierra Leone, and people tend to use them pretty frequently. The thing that I'm always trying to express to folks here is you can't track how users and people are seeing your billboard. How many people are actually seeing your billboard? How many people are coming to you based on your billboard? I mean, how many times have you guys ever looked at a billboard with a phone number on it or a website, stopped your car, typed in the phone number or typed the website, and actually went to the site? Like, no one ever does that, right? That never happens. And so I'm always trying to convince these brands here on the continent that they need to focus on other forms of advertising that is more trackable, which is the online space, right? You can track clicks on a link. You could track how many people visited a website. You can do optimizations based on all of those trackings and tracking softwares. You can either build a tracking software, buy one, rent one. There's so many different options there. And so a big part of my challenges actually dealing with brands on the continent has been their understanding of why digital is so important. And these were a lot of the conversations I was having in the States in 2007, 2008, and 2009. And even when I was at Hulu and we were dealing with traditional TV advertisers and helping them understand why. So, and helping them understand why they need to take those TV brand dollars and start spending them on digital on Hulu. It was interesting, right? Because people just do what they're used to doing, right? And that's a big part of what I found here on the continent is people are just used to doing what they're used to doing, right? And so if that's the case, then they're just going to continue doing it. It may not be the right thing to do, but it might just be what they continue to do. So that's probably what I would say is some of the major challenges that I ran into. So that's something that I would definitely recommend you pay attention to. As a brand on the continent or a person who wants to deal with brands on the continent, those are some of the things you need to think about, is just the understanding of how they tend to deal with brands and what they do. There's some other questions. So, Destination Africa Group TV says, great presentation. Thank you. Thank you, folks at Destination Africa. These are folks that I am an affiliate of their program. They have an awesome program. Yeah, check them out. Just check out Destination Africa Group. They're on YouTube, or just check out their website. And you can check out the website actually by clicking on the link in my profile, because it will take you to their a website that you can see everything that they're doing. Okay. Pro Women J says, we're starved for time in the US, so being fast saving time is a value to sell in the West, especially in America. Yeah, so for sure, especially if you are a brand who doesn't have time to work on social media, right? Like some brands are small, right? Like you might be a one-person business, right? Or a two-person business, and the two of you are working on the thing that is building your business. Your business isn't a social media platform. Your business is the other thing that you do, right? Whether that's selling water or something else. And so if that's what you are doing, then that is what you should focus on, right? I mean, that is exactly what you should do. You should focus on that. So you can outsource this to someone else who can save you time, energy, and effort. And it's just more convenient for them to do it on your behalf. And that's what I am doing. So I can help you grow your channel quickly and make it so that you don't have to do the work yourself. Okay. So what do we have here? Anyway, okay. So Pro Women J is best way to market to young people through social media and hip hop, Afro beats. So you're asking if that's the best way. I think it depends on what the product is, right? It depends on the product. So, and there's another question from Top Dog Pablo. So give me a second. I'm going to get to your question in a moment. But for Pro Women J, so it depends on what the product is, right? So some people utilize artists. So for instance, UBA Bank, that is a bank here in West Africa, United Bank of Africa. In Nigeria, WizKid is their brand ambassador. They work with WizKid in Nigeria. That's who they work with. In Sierra Leone, Drizzlick is their brand ambassador here in Sierra Leone. And these two are artists that are well known in their respective regions. WizKid is pretty well known globally. Drizzlick is very well known amongst the Sierra Leone community in the country and abroad, right? And in both of those cases, UBA is trying to get young customers to become customers for life, right? So yes, in some cases, you can utilize someone who has a following to bring that group in to become a customer of yours. That's something that people do fairly often and frequently. But you want to do it in a way that's organic and that makes sense. So trying to figure out how I want to discuss this. Okay, so I've had a conversation with a brand before that was working with a influencer, right? They're working with this influencer, and one of the things they wanted to do was work with other influencers. But what they wanted to do was, with those influencers, they wanted to utilize the main influencer on those influencers' social media pages. nobody wants to post somebody else's picture, video over and over again, talking about a brand on your own platform, unless you are doing a collaboration with that person. Why would you want to keep reposting that person on your platform if the platform is built around you? And I had to express to the brand that, look, I know your goal is to push your relationship with this particular influencer, but if you're going to work with all these other influencers, give them a little bit of cash and actually do posts with them, like posts where they do post about the product that it is that you're working on. You cannot have them reposting a video or a picture of this other influencer on their page 3 to 5 times a month. It just doesn't make sense to their audience. It's confusing, right? Like I'm me, and I'm saying, hey guys, check out check out this artist who is using this particular phone service. No, it's me who should be talking about me using the phone service and why I use that phone service, not this artist that's using the phone service. Maybe I can mention that they're also an ambassador or something, but okay, so you guys can now see me. Well, you guys can hear me. Seeing me might be a bit of a challenge. It's taken a while for them to turn on the inverter so the power and the light goes on. And of course, I'm utilizing all my devices to go live. So I cannot use a light for you guys to see me. But this is Sierra Leone, guys. This is what happens. This is what happens here. But Pro Women, I hope I answered your question. Oh, so yeah. So I think it depends on the brand. To kind of just round out to answer the question, it depends on the brand. It really depends on the brand, and it depends on what they specifically are trying to get out there to that audience. So sometimes, yes, you can use, there we go, let there be light. So sometimes you can use Afrobeats artists, or you can do other things to get in touch with that audience. There are other things that you can do to get in touch with an audience outside of using music, right? So yeah, so that's what I would say. But I mean, it all depends on the brand, and I would have some ideas depending on what the brand is. Okay, Alaric. Oh no, before I get to Alaric, there was another question. Before I get to Alaric. Let's see. This question was from Instagram, so I want to make sure I answer your question. Okay, Top Dog Pablo Part 2 says, what type of business is booming? So here on the continent, there's so many different businesses that work in different countries. So it's all going to be dependent on what country you're talking about. That'll determine what's booming. I will say a company that's booming, no matter where you are in the world, is Airbnb. Everybody's doing Airbnb. That's a huge business. Everybody's Airbnb-ing their apartments, their houses. Airbnb is happening everywhere. That's a booming business. So anybody who maybe doesn't have any ideas for a business, but wants to rent a place, buy a place, that's one thing you could do. You just want to make sure you check all the laws, rules, and regulations for the building, so you're not breaking any rules. But that is one of the major businesses that is booming. Import-export businesses are always booming. There's always an opportunity to import and export things around the continent. That's always huge. People need goods and stuff from the States or from the UK or from Australia or wherever. That's always a booming business. Agriculture is a business that has many gaps in it, right? So if you could figure out how to start your own agriculture business, that's something that is a booming business. And that's pretty much all over the continent. Those are just some things that I could recommend to you. Separately from that, there are other digital businesses. One business that is really booming is peer-to-peer lending and money transfer services. So in the States, you can think of Cash App, Zelle, Venmo kind of things. Here, there are many different businesses. I'm not even going to begin to name them, but there's so many companies that are solving the issue of sending money between bank accounts, sending money between phone companies. Remittance businesses are doing really well here too, but that requires some work. So many different businesses are booming. Hard to say, but there are a lot of different businesses that are booming. So what I always say to people: come to the continent, whatever country you want to settle in, visit a number of different times, build your network, understand what the needs are. Your business should be a business that is a solution to a problem. What happens a lot of time is that people build businesses in search of a problem, and it's too late. You have to do it the other way around, because if you are a business that's a solution to a problem, you already have a built-in potential customer base. If you build a business because you think it's a good idea in your head, and then you go out there and try to do it, it's going to be very difficult to find customers because you're not already solving an issue, right? And so that's something that you need to think about. So that's something that I just would have put out there. Were there any other questions from Instagram before I get to this next question on YouTube? I think that's it for now. So this next question on YouTube was Alaric Kelly was saying, I'm working on building an electronic company. One of my focuses is headphones, speakers, earbuds. With the love of music in Africa, what do you think of this idea? Listen, I think it's a great idea in general, right? Like, people, especially at this day and age, like to listen to their stuff through wireless headphones. I'm using a wired headphone set because my wireless headphones fell and broke, or actually got lost. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good business, but it's a difficult business to get into. Think about this, right? Dr. Dre did Beats by Dr. Dre. And what he did really well was he, and not just him, but the team, Jimmy Iovine and the whole group, went and found people to become brand ambassadors. And then people started wearing the headphones just because, but they were sending headphones to like LeBron James, to Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, people who were like very popular athletes. And so you would see them, getting ready for a game. They have their Beats by Dr. Dre headphones on. And eventually it got bought by Apple for, I think, $5 billion, something like that. And now you have Beats Buds. Lights went out again. Salon light problems. So, so if you have a earbud company, and I think Raytronics has an electronics company that's doing the same thing, headphones, speakers, and earbuds. You have to have someone out there to set you apart from the others. Because let me give you an example. 50 Cent, someone who is an incredible business person, who also was a very, very big artist, launched SMS speakers, and he struggled with his business. And it did not do nearly as well as the Beats by Dr. Dre business. And you also have competition from large, major competitors. So if you want to get into this business, just know that the barrier of entry is going to be high. You have to set yourself apart from everybody else, which is likely going to have to be based on cost. But you're also going to have to make sure your sound quality is up there. And you're going to have to make sure that you have wireless earbuds that actually stay in people's ears. That is a big issue. Everybody's ears are different. I have that biggest issue. The only earbuds that I've ever worn that have always stayed in my ears were AirPods from Apple. I could go on a treadmill. I could go for a run. I could be pretty active. And those AirPods stayed in my ear. The Beats Pods did not. I bought other off-brand ones. They do not. So that's my particular ear. My ears are not everyone's ears, but that's something you have to think about. Speakers and other types of headphones, over the head headphones, the noise cancellation headphones is going to be important. That's just a mainstay for different people. What you might want to do, though, is focus on specific sector of folks, right? So maybe you might want to focus on a specific group of folks, like maybe the office environment, noise cancellation headphones. I know when I was in Germany, what I saw a lot was people using Bose. I think, is Bose a German company? It's a European company. But people weren't using Beats headphones. They were using Bose, because those Bose headphones were really good at noise cancellation. Like, to be honest, I had someone saying, Joe, from like this far away, and I couldn't hear them. They said they said my name like 7 times. I could not hear them. I had those Bose headphones on, and I was in the zone. And so I definitely would recommend figuring out a way to set yourself apart in some way, shape, or form like that. If that's something that you want to do, if you want to get into this business, just know that any business with large incumbents means that you have a lot of work to do to set yourself apart, right? They've already done the branding for themselves, right? So in order to set yourself apart, you're going to have to do something to do that. And so you're going to have to figure out what that's going to be. And only you can determine that. And maybe that's something we could do some consulting on, and we can talk about it. But, I would never discourage someone from starting a business that there are already incumbents in that business, because I always mention this to people. I had a business that I was starting, and someone said to me, isn't there already companies that do that? I thought that there was this company that does it. Doesn't this company do that? So what? Google was the 12th search engine, the 12th search engine, not the third, not the second, not the fifth, not the 10th. It was the 12th search engine. And what do we do when we describe the category? We say, Google it, right? Don't we say Google it? Do your Googles, right? No one says, do your search, do your Yahoo search or do your Bing, right? They say, do your Googles. And so I always bring that up because as long as you set yourself apart, you don't have to be the first. You just need to be one of the best, and you need to be able to solve a problem that is already in the marketplace with the incumbents that are there. So find where there are issues with the incumbents that you're competing with, and one of them is price. And so if you can beat them on price and some of the other challenges, then you have a good chance of gaining some of the market share. If you just get 1% of the market share on headphones, speakers, and earbuds, that is a multi-billion-dollar company. So just keep that in mind. All right. Okay, any other questions, comments, thoughts? These are all great questions. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Sorry for the connection issues. Light issues. This is Salono. In Salon, we get light issues. Alaric Kelly says, thanks, Joe. A buddy of mine introduced me to you. You guys work together at Hulu. I'm not sure if you remember. His name is Andrew Wynn. Yes, of course I remember Andrew. Andrew and I worked together at Hulu before he moved on to, where'd he go? He went to that company that did all those videos. Now I can't remember. But yeah, so we met when I lived in LA many moons ago. That was a while ago. Nice. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. And tell Andrew I said what's up. It's been a long time since I spoke with him. I think the last time I saw Andrew was when I was working at Hulu, and he was out to dinner, and I was at dinner with clients, and I stopped to say hello. Fun fact: Andrew was there the day that I injured my left knee. He was playing basketball with us. Yes, he went on to go work at BuzzFeed. That was the company. Yes, BuzzFeed. All right. Pro Woman J says, last question. New bed working for you, catching good Z's, and should black brands sell for money, market share to keep ownership with less money? Okay, so first question, the new bed is working. Great. Love the bed. Necessary to have a bed. For those of you who don't know, when I first I sold my previous bed when I was in Ghana. I got to Sierra Leone not knowing I didn't have a bed in the room. I know, should have checked, did not. So I slept on a pull-out couch for about 6 weeks before I found a bed that was suitable and that I'm sleeping on. So I've been sleeping on a bed now, catching good Z's, very happy with the bed, like to sleep, and it's helping me sleep. I don't get a lot of sleep, 5, maybe 6 hours a night, but I am getting my sleep on that bed. Now, to your second question, should black brands sell for money / market share or keep ownership with less money? There are two schools of thought on this, and I'm going to use two different people to give you my response to that. So there are two people who make a lot of sense when they talk about this stuff from two separate sides. And they were former business partners who have gone their separate ways. One is Damon Dash. The other is Jay-Z. So we're going to start with Damon Dash. Damon Dash, his viewpoint is, I want to own 100% of my business, because if I own 100% of my business, you can't tell me anything about what I can do, who I can be, how I can talk, etc. But that's also because Damon Dash is a brash individual. He's an individual that is difficult to deal with. And this is according to people who've worked with him. And he takes an approach that is no nonsense, if that's the way you want to describe it. And he's also he sticks to his very strict morals and belief systems, right? And so there's certain things that he will not change on. And he's been right about so many different things, including Harvey Weinstein, by the way. That's a separate thing, but that is something that I would say about him. Now, on the other side, you have Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z has mentioned this in his music, and he also mentioned this in an interview with Kevin Hart, where he said, LVMH came to him and wanted to buy up a percentage of Ace of Spades, right? Now, you can have 100% of zero, which is what he said. Well, Ace of Spades wasn't zero, but you can have 100% of that business, or you can maintain 51% ownership and now be part of a conglomerate with distribution so that you no longer have to hire your boy Memphis Bleak to go to bars and clubs to get them to sell your Ace of Spades, right? So, sometimes I say maybe you could sell a portion of your ownership as long as you can maintain ownership, but it all depends on your goal for the brand, right? If you want to be a large multinational brand, a lot of times you do need to partner with people who have the infrastructure already to help push you globally. But that's not for everybody, right? So I think it depends. I mean, an example of where this went wrong is the Source magazine. I'm always going to go back to hip hop because I learned all of my business acumen in my early life in the hip hop industry. So Source magazine, and BET is another example of this, but different. But Source magazine sold to another company, and it completely changed Source. Source was the, unsigned hype was where you would go to see a new artist that was up and coming, and you were going to find out who they were. Biggie Smalls was in unsigned hype. So many different artists were in the unsigned hype category. Then you had the 5 mics, right? Like if you had 5 mics, your album was considered a classic, right? And so this was like the hip hop Bible is what they used to call it. As soon as they sold, it was gone. And then it was like Vibe magazine and King magazine and all these other magazines that became the magazines of the culture. And then Source just went off by the wayside, and it's just gone forever, and it's just done. BET is another example of that. Bob Johnson had BET. They had shows like Teen Summit. They had really good quality programming that were great for early childhood development. For someone like myself, I was very big into what's her name? Ananda. And so I used to watch Teen Summit just because of her. When I was a kid, I wasn't even a teenager yet. And then they sold it, and then you got BET Uncut, and it got crazy. They sold it to Viacom, and now, I don't want to, let me take a step back. I want to say this. It's still an important channel for the culture. But when there are a lot of things that are different, and there are a lot of decisions being made about it that I didn't really understand. Rhapsody in the Basement was okay, sorry guys, I lost my connection on YouTube. 106 Park was also a great show. They got rid of it. Management got rid of it. I don't know why. And so I don't know if they would have stayed if they were still an independent business. But and I have to be careful here because I don't want to offend anybody who works at BET. I have people who do work at BET who've worked for BET, who are actually full-time employed by BET. So, I'm just speaking for people in the culture, not just myself, but how the general sentiment has been. So selling it solely, no. If you could sell a portion of it and maintain ownership, then yes. And that doesn't just mean ownership in terms of shares, but that means voting ownership, right? To be able to make decisions about the business, then sometimes it makes sense to do it. Other times I say keep it and own it all so you can maintain the integrity of the business. So it really depends on the business. But that was a good question, Pro Women, and I hope I answered it well for you. Okay, good. So now we are looking at, it's been about an hour and 20 minutes. Any other questions before we go? my Instagram is going in, my YouTube is going in and out of connection because I have 3 different devices all connected to my MiFi, and this MiFi has been giving me problems, to say the least. So any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns before we go? I think this is going to be it, guys. No other questions. All right, cool. So with that, I want to thank you guys all for watching the live. Make sure you share this with anybody who's a business that's either targeting Africans, or it's an African business looking to target diasporans, or diasporans looking to target other diasporans, all of the above. The goal is for us to be able to help them do that with this social media agency. So make sure you share this with them. Make sure that they are aware that these services are available. And also hit that thumbs up and shoot some comments over if there's anything you think I missed, if you had any questions, if you're watching the replay. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next video.